This story takes place in Dalat. My teacher used to tell us that Dalat was very quiet back in the day. There was a government officer who worked in a state agency and happened to be acquainted with my teacher's older brother. My teacher belonged to an ethnic minority but migrated to Dalat with their family after the liberation. On that night, the government officer had some work to finish, so he returned home late. His house was near the shores of Schwanhong Lake, and at that time, it was deserted around 9 to 10 p.m. with no one on the streets. He arrived close to midnight, walking from the office to his house along the shores of Schwanhong Lake. The night was eerily quiet, without a single soul in sight. While leisurely strolling, he heard the sound of a child crying, a girl of about 12 years old. The more he walked, the louder the crying became. He wondered why the girl didn't go home to sleep at this hour and instead chose to sit by the lake crying. He assumed she must have been mistreated by her family. Suddenly, he noticed 3 to 4 noisy children running past him. He asked them why they weren't home sleeping and why they were out on the streets at this late hour. The children ignored his words and ran too fast for him to chase after. He approached the crying girl and asked, "Hey, why are you sitting here crying in the middle of the night? Did those kids bully you? Where's your house? What are your parents' names so that I can take you home? It's very dangerous to sit here alone at night. I've heard there are ghosts around this lake. Aren't you afraid?" He asked a series of questions, but the girl continued to cry with her face lowered, and he couldn't see her face. She was wearing loose-fitting clothes, similar to what women wear now, but due to the dim lighting, he couldn't tell if they were white or pink. Her hair reached her shoulders, and when she bowed her head, her hair covered her face completely, making it impossible to see her features. He asked again, "Are you injured anywhere? Where did you get hurt?" Only then did the girl reply, "Yes. Can you raise your head so I can see? If there's anything wrong, I'll take you back." "Yes, I got injured on my face. Those other kids hurt me." The girl turned towards the dim street light and raised her head. What the officer saw made him pale, his legs trembling. He couldn't utter a word due to intense fear. In his subconscious mind, he ran as fast as he could, stumbling twice along the way. He couldn't call for help because he was too terrified, as if his throat had been constricted or blocked. When the girl looked up, her face was a mass of flesh, without eyes, nose, or mouth. She let out a horrifying scream, a. The sound was terrifying in the middle of the night. Instead of continuing with what happened when he reached home, due to extreme fear, he ran back along the lake, but in the opposite direction. He ran around the lake in a complete circle. He ran desperately, as if his life depended on it, stumbling and wetting his pants. He slowed down and caught his breath after running more than half the lake's circumference. He saw a restaurant near the lake and hurriedly ran towards it. Since it was late at night, there was no one in the restaurant except for an old lady sitting in front. He spoke while panting. "Granny, I just encountered a ghost. I thought it was a child, and I was so scared." The old lady asked him why he was out late at night, saying that many people died around the lake area, so there were often ghosts. She advised him not to go out late anymore. After explaining the reasons and describing the eerie face of the little ghost, the old lady finally spoke. "Is this the face?" She raised her face, and the government officer fainted on the spot. The next day, when he woke up, he found himself in a hospital bed. He remained dazed for 5 years, and it took a substantial amount of money and effort from his family to help him recover and recount this story to my teacher. Why did he faint upon seeing the old lady's face? Because her face was exactly the same as the little girl's face. A mass of flesh without eyes, nose, or mouth.